Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. It's me, Kia Simone, and we are here to talk about the lowdown showdown that is Love and Marriage Huntsville. Now listen here. It is the day after Easter, okay? I got on my flowers and my studs. I'm not about to be rolling around in the grass with y'all. So, let's just get right on into it. Before we do, if you are not already, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. So the episode picks up right where we left off last week, which is in the middle of Tisha running out of her own bar because Keke is going off on her about a beef they had 5 years ago. Tisha is on the phone with Kimmy, and as she's talking to Kimmy, Keke comes walking outside. Who you talking about? Me too now. And this whole argument ensues about how Tisha always gets up and walks away. They don't ever resolve anything. Tisha about to lose it by how she just don't have it in her to keep going over this issue that she thought they resolved years ago. And for me, I'm genuinely confused because why were you defending her last year and wanting to fight Kimmy because Kimmy wouldn't lie for her? I do not understand. And I don't think Keke knows what she's mad about, because it goes from being this issue of having discussed my personal business to being this issue of you always get up and walk away, and see, this is why we never resolve anything, because and you still on the phone with Kimmy. You ain't even hung up the phone with Kimmy. See, that's disrespectful. Girl, I could have been out here talking about you in peace. Okay, but you came out here and insisted on interjecting yourself into my conversation. Now, you know Tisha talking about you. That's what y'all do in y'all's family. Why is this being shoved in our face? This is either one of two things. Either there is a script being written to make Tisha's family drama the main character and they are drudging up some old beef for material, or Keke out her damn mind. They agree that they've already hashed this out, that the apologies have been made. Tisha gives one more very sarcastic apology where she says, listen, I apologize for the 100th time, okay? We are moving on because they is too much. So then we move on to Martell's job interview with Marceau. He is going to interview with Marceau to discuss the option or opportunity to buy back into Skolt. Skolt was a creation of he and Martell's, where he and Martell brought together their skill sets and created this business. Eventually, they didn't see eye to eye in terms of how the business was being run, and they decided to go their separate ways. Now, we have Marceau and Tisha as the owners and operators of Skolt, and Martell looking to buy back in. Because Martell gonna do any damn thing but go get his own license. What Martell is trying to avoid is having to start over and rebuild from the ground up. He's looking to jump on a ready-made movement. I'm so sorry. You cannot cheat the process. Now you can keep on doing this, but all you're doing is setting yourself back, all right? You know, they come in joking. They both have their suits on. Martell is joking with Marceau that he looks like he came from Wednesday service, and you might want to be careful joking with the boss when you're looking for a job player. They start chit-chatting, and Marceau asks Martell about the book signing, if there was a good turnout, and he says, yeah, except that Mel didn't bring the kids or allowed the kids to come. And Marceau was pretty shocked because, you know, he's like, well, it's the kids' book. And he said, well, were you embarrassed? And he said, yeah, I'm still embarrassed. And he said, well, what was her reason? And Martell said, well, she would say that her reason is it wasn't my week. And I would pretty much have to respect that. Marceau is in the confessional saying that, you know, he feels really bad about the Mel and Martell situation. And he says that this is the classic definition of using your kids as a pawn on both ends. And the problem with using your kids as a pawn is in the game, the pawn is who always gets crushed. Now, I'm going to just have to go on and agree with Marceau, but y'all already know that because I said that 2 reviews ago and was tussling in the grass in my comments and stuff for having said that, but you know. So they go on to discuss that Martell has this final wine tasting coming up for this wine that he's releasing. He says basically that it's going to be a boys trip, and Marceau is, kind of looking at him. He's like, well, no, not that kind of boys trip. It ain't going to be clubs and stuff like that. Not like that. Marceau goes, I don't mind going to a club. I'll go to a club or a lounge, or I'll go on that kind of trip. I don't care. I'm married and I can go on that type of trip. And he goes on in the confessional to talk about the importance of trust in a marriage, and if you don't trust each other, why are you still together? And the only opinions that really matter to him are few, and Tisha's at the top of that list, and yada, yada, yada. Well, here's the thing. We know that you live a whole life that ain't got nothing to do with Tisha. You goes to Africa without your wife or children. We know Atlanta is no question you're going to do anything you want to do. So, save the whole trust speech. It's low-key gaslighting. Go somewhere. So then they get down to the meat and potatoes of why Martell is really there, which is the discussion of buying back into Scald with the intention of helping to grow the company. Martell, if you are just miracle grow fertilizer for everybody else's company, why can't you be the same for yours? Why won't you go read a book, get a tutor if you need help with test taking skills, do whatever you need to do to get licensed so you can stop license hopping? Y'all remember I said Fred gonna get tired of it, and apparently that has run out. And you're looking to hop on to the next one. Why don't you hop on to your own? Rather than trying to ride somebody else's wave, create your own. PSA of the day. So they go through their discussion, and Marceau hits them with I would have to meet with the actual boss before I can give you a decision. So we'll be in touch. And Martell is like, well, so I guess you got to talk to Tisha before you can tell me how you feel. I'm just trying to gauge if I might have a job or not, Marceau says, no, I can tell you how I feel. And I really think that you're a really good businessman. I think that we've done good business together. The issue is that I am not the primary shareholder for Sculpt, and I have to run it by Tisha since she's basically the head of the company to get a decision from her. So it's going to be her to tell you no and not me. All right? All right. Marceau does suggest, though, that he and Martell can do a joint venture together, such as working on Destiny's beauty suites. That way, Martell can generate some business, he can generate some work, but he ain't buying back into the company because they ain't trying to hear that. We move on to Kimmy and Maurice's house, and Kimmy and Maurice is basically all us. They in the house, Maurice mounting TVs and stuff. Kimmy just walking around the house making sure he doing something, since you here, make sure you working. While you working, come here, let me tell you what happened. Hey, I was on the phone with Tisha because Tisha called me because her and Keke was at Black getting into it. Next thing I know, Keke come outside and Keke carrying on by now this what you do. You go running outside and you don't want me talking about you, but you talk about me to Kimmy and Maurice like a man. What? So she don't want you and Kimmy to be friends? What? You know how men gotta act like they into the gossip, like, what? You better play your part. Play your part. And all Maurice got at the end of it is, well, I foresee a showdown between the aunt, the niece, and the daughter. And you damn right. So the next stop is Maurice at work, because that's the other thing Kimmy like. Because if you ain't gonna be home, please be at work making some money. Thank you. Destiny comes in, and she is coming in to see Maurice for a credit consultation because, she's gone through her divorce. She's had some financial issues, and she's looking to rebuild her credit. And she and Maurice get into a breakdown of a conversation about what's really going on with her financially and socially. She discusses with Maurice that she struggled a lot financially, but she didn't want to relocate because she didn't want to shake up her baby's world. And she came here with a vision and a plan, and she didn't want to uproot that. She ended up on public assistance, and Maurice asked her if she's referring to a PPP loan, and she said, no, I'm referring to public assistance, not the PPP. She said she's had to go as far as paying her bills and running her business on credit cards and her personal savings. Maurice explains to her that, her building is really an asset. So what she needs to do is try to figure out a way to have that building make her money while she's not there. And she explains that that's her goal with getting these beauty suites built. So Maurice shifts gears and he says, I heard that you're into it with your friend. And Destiny said, well, no, really, it's that my friend is into it with me, but I don't really know where it's coming from. She goes on to say, I don't have an issue with people taking time to themselves, but when you go from calling me 8 times back to back to back and leaving voicemails when I don't answer the phone to going ghost, it's alarming. She said, we went to brunch to discuss what the issue is, and all I got from her was that I was talking to Tisha, aka her enemy. But the issue is, I didn't know that was her enemy. Maurice asked Destiny, since we talk about it, knowing what you know about Tisha now, would you still be friends with Tisha regardless of her and Mel's status as enemies? And Destiny gives what I feel like is an honest answer. Destiny says, honestly, if I knew up front that Tisha was Mel's enemy, I probably would have been less likely to develop a relationship with her simply because I was friends with Mel first. But I didn't know we was playing I Declare War. And Destiny goes on to say how, she didn't expect that her and Mel would be in this position. She thought they would be lifelong friends. And just the other day, she had a situation come up and she thought she would be able to call on Mel, but she wasn't able to. And when Maurice asked her, well, who did you call? She says, Tisha. Now, here's my thing. Now we getting into kind of being sold the story, because you mean to tell me the only people you have in your life are the people on this show? I'm not buying the whole, I didn't have anyone because I didn't have Mel. Like, listen, Mel get on my nerves much as she get on anybody's nerves. However, we not doing the whole savior martyr thing that, like, please stop. I get that we all need a friend, and I am in agreement that Mel is not a good friend. I stand by that. I stand 10 toes down on that. However, I just feel like the storyline is going a little bit far with this whole tearful, I call Tisha. Tisha's who was there for me. Who was you calling before you met Tisha? Everybody's reaching for sympathy, and everybody can go sit down. And Maurice ends the meeting by telling Destiny, all in all, baby, I'm going to pray for you. I don't know what he saw in that credit profile, but he said what we going to do before we do any damn thing is we going to pray. And we's going to all pray together. Moving on. So we move on to Tisha and Marcel at their office pretending like they actually work together and get along. Tisha decides to weave in, while we talking about black and business and stuff, I'm going to need my mama to come in to black and shadow you so she can learn how to run a business. Now, hold on. So it ain't that she has this business idea and this business acumen, but just doesn't have the financial resources. She don't have nothing of it. Y'all gonna provide the money. She gonna have to come to y'all's business to take a bootleg business and culinary course. And then she's going to be the face and name of the business. Why y'all don't just... What you mean she need to come shadow him to learn how to run a business because that's part of the investment? What? Tisha, if you don't just go withdraw some money and put it in your mama's account, because that's all the hell is going on here. Marcel initially is like, I don't know, look, hey, that's a lot. to ask me to be Mr. Clark to your mama. I ain't got time. He eventually bends and says, okay, whatever. Just send her over here and I'll teach her. And Tisha, girl, please. This works right into his plan. Did not have to pay you no damn alimony when all this shit goes left. Okay? All right? You and your mama, y'all want to start a business? You want to funnel some money over there? Okay. Come on. Yeah, I'm going to help you all right. So Marcel shifts the conversation into, so Martell came by the other day and we talked about him buying back into Skulls. And to me, he seems like he's back to the old Martell, but of course I told him that you being my wife and primary shareholder, I needed to discuss it with you. And Tisha, clears her throat and gets ready to give her very professional no. And says, listen, I respect Martell as a businessman. I feel like the two of you work very well together. Y'all bring out the best in each other. However, I don't think that I can trust Martell because this is the same man that came for our family at one point. And while, yes, he apologized and took ownership of it, and I accept that apology, but that doesn't change the fact that that's in him. And I don't know if I can trust this person now that I've seen what he's capable of. Marcel is pretty much in agreement, and they move forward on the Maya Angelou principle of when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Marcel discusses with Tisha that I kind of knew you was going to say no. So I had proposed to him this joint venture of working on the suites for Destiny together. And I think that would be a good opportunity because what I really think is Marcel wants to help Martell. According to Marcel, there would be no Scope without Martell Holt because Martell helps him to get to where he is. And I think as men, they have this bond, this brotherhood, this kind of camaraderie where, I know you did X, Y, and Z, but I see you struggling and I kind of want to help you up. And I think that's where Marcel is coming from, that no, I don't necessarily want to let you back into my company. I ain't playing with you like that, player. But I don't want to watch my brother just struggle and, spin in the wind. We done seen it with Fred. We about to see it with Marcel and see how that go. Moving on. The next stop is Destiny meeting Mel at a breakfast diner for them to hash out their issues. Now, before we get into this, I'm gonna get me a good stretch in, cause y'all be wanting to fight in the comments. I don't want to pull a muscle. Let's get into this showdown at the hoedown. There's a lot of receipts to go over. As soon as Destiny sits down, she asks her, what's going on? What do you think is going on? What do you think is the issue? Destiny is like, I don't know. And she says, I know that there's an issue because I'm hearing it from mutual friends. So I know something's wrong. I just can't figure out what it is. And so Mel is like, well, what do you mean? Mutual friends like who? And Destiny looks at her like, please. She said, the ones you've talked to, I guess. She says, well, that's interesting because I really don't talk to people about you unless they bring you up. And even then, they get vague answers. And Destiny says, well, whatever you're conveying or communicating about how you're feeling, it's enough for people to decide that they no longer want to do business with me. Excuse me? So Mel says she didn't tell anyone to not work with Destiny, but that she was contacted by a friend of hers to ask what is going on between she and Destiny because she is working with Destiny, but, I see the stuff on the internet, but I know her through you and you're my friend. Red flag number one. Mel starts fast talking and says, I told her that I hadn't talked to Destiny and, whatever you see going on the internet has nothing to do with Destiny. Meanwhile, they show a meme that she posted at the time that says, a friend to your enemy is a foe to you. Who was you talking about? So then Mel goes and says, I don't know what exactly was misconstrued or thought to have been directed at Destiny, but I have no control over how social media interprets the things that I, put out there. I just put it out there, how people interpret it. So now you're a victim of interpretation. I just can't. And she says, my relationship with Destiny is not affecting her business. Most people didn't even know we weren't talking, and I'm not about to take that. And stop being fun and games when you start taking money out of somebody's pocket that is struggling to feed their child. And Destiny in the confessional says, of course, Melody is smart, so she's never going to just outright say, yeah, don't mess with her. She said, of course, she says, oh, I would never tell you not to do business with her. I would never tell you not to be involved with her. But the way that this thing called loyalty works is that if I'm not dealing with them, then you better not deal with them. And we know that to be true based on the state of Destiny and Mel's relationship, because Destiny spoke to her enemy. She encouraged this person and said, oh, I would never tell you not to be friends with someone. You should develop your own relationships. Everybody should have their own friendships and get to know people for themselves. And the minute she did that, she used it against her. Now you're my enemy because you followed my instruction, which was a setup for failure, and went and befriended my enemy that I didn't tell you was my enemy. It's a trick and it's a trap. Destiny says, I would characterize her as a master manipulator. The kind of person that basically throws the rock, hides their hand. The puppet master kind of person. She's pulling the strings, but pretending her hands are not involved. Like, girl, you're not going to tell me this person called you and said, I want to know what's going on between y'all because, yeah, I'm doing business with her, but I only know her through you and you my friend. That's everybody knows. That's code for, if you tell me you ain't messing with her, I'm about to cut this off because I'm only messing with her because of you. And so Destiny says, there's something you said to this lady, because she all of a sudden came to me and said, there's some issue between you and Mel. I don't want to be in the middle of it. And I feel like y'all need to work that out. And we're going to halt everything until y'all do. And I said to her that I would love to work things out with Mel, but I can't talk to somebody who's not willing to talk to me. Here's where we get into the battle of receipts. Okay. So to justify her unwillingness to communicate with Destiny, Mel starts saying, well, listen, you take time away when you need it and it's no issue. But when I do it, it's a problem. She goes on to say, when we were on the reunion stage, you said that I wasn't a good friend. You hadn't been in communication with me. And because of the kind of person that I am, I didn't want to call you an outright liar on that stage. But let's break down that was not the truth. So Mel says at the end of the season, I did pull away to focus on myself, but I didn't abandon Destiny. And the first time that I heard that Destiny had a problem with me or felt like I wasn't a good friend was on the reunion stage. That is a lie. I'm going to tell you that's a lie, because I was there when I was watching the very last episode of last season before the reunion, when Destiny pulled Mel aside at her own party to tell her how I don't feel like you've been a good friend or been a sufficient part of my village. And I know I was there because I got my ass on the internet and I dragged Destiny for pulling Mel aside at her own party to say that. So no, you did not just hear on that reunion stage that girl had a problem with you and the kind of friend that you were to her. That's a lie. So Mel goes on to say, when we were on the reunion stage, the question was asked, where is your relationship with Melody? And you said something like, I don't know. I haven't talked to her since we wrapped. And I knew that was inaccurate. She goes to pull out her phone to deliver these receipts to try to prove Destiny to be a liar. So Mel starts to read the text messages to Destiny. She reads the first text message from September 6th, where Destiny said, what's up, Mel? Now, to distract, rather than move on to the very next message, she starts to say, now, mind you, you said you hadn't talked to me at all. Okay, all you've given us thus far is a message that she sent to you. She proceeds to say, September 7th. Okay, so we've moved on to the next day with no response to this message. So September 7th, the following day, Mel responds to the text message to say, hey, on my way to the Ville, what you got up? Here's the issue with that. Destiny has now gone on to post her own receipts. Now, why Destiny just sat there and let Mel run over her, I don't know. Why she wouldn't pull out her phone and say, hold on, player. Let's go receipt for receipt, because you ain't getting no refund today. I don't know. But here I am. So Destiny posts a receipt where she shows, okay, yes, there was this message on September 7th. I think it was August 28th, a week or so prior to that message. Destiny had messaged Mel to say, hey, Mel, girl, what's going on? I hadn't heard from you. What's up with my friend? She got no response to that. She messaged her again on September 6th to say, hey, how you doing? Mel finally responds to her on September 7th, but she's going to omit that part. She omits that I ignored this girl for a whole week prior to me responding to this message a day later. So we going to start in the middle. That's what we going to do. All right. She goes to when Destiny finally responds to her message that she sent on September 7th. And Destiny says, just chillaxing. Why that's the bone Destiny decides to sink her teeth into, I don't know. But she decides she's going to die on the hill of I never said just chillaxing. I don't even talk like that. I wouldn't say that. I never said that. So here goes that Mel. You said it. I got it right here. Like, girl. There are far better points you could harp on rather than the just chillaxing. Like, child, you probably said it and you said it mindlessly because now you offended. This done took a week to respond to me. I ain't got nothing to say to you, girl. Chillaxing. That's what I'm doing. You're harping on the wrong, like, fight back. So Mel continues to proceed and goes over the messages and shows, okay, yeah, a couple days later you responded with a picture showing you relaxing or vacationing or whatever she was doing. And days after that, I sent a message to say, hey, just checking on you. And Destiny is rolling her eyes because this is some bull. Basically, you going to use a bunch of text messages that you didn't respond to or responded to a day, a week, 2 weeks later to say, oh, you did have some form of communication with me, and justify your complete shift from talking to a person every day, calling their phone multiple times a day, to not responding to their message for a week at a time. Girl, what the hell ever, okay? So when Destiny rolls her eyes, because this is some utter bull, Mel says to her, don't be rude. Child, when I tell you I saw the violence in the snap of Destiny's neck, Destiny had to remind herself that she ain't got bond money. You're going to have to calm yourself on down. That's what you're going to have to do. All right? Mel said, yeah, you're over there making a face. Don't be rude. Girl, I don't know who you used to playing with, but you ain't in the country no more. You gonna get out here in these city streets, and it's gonna be a city girl that's gonna knock your block off talking to them like you crazy. You not gonna be out here talking to people like they're your children. And that's exactly what Destiny told her. Destiny said, hey, look here, don't talk to me like one of your kids. I'm grown. If I grew these eyes, if I want to roll them all day long, I pays the bill to roll them. Don't you talk to me like that. Destiny says, look, my whole point to you was that we hadn't talked, so you can sit here and read all the text messages you want. And Mel says, I will read all the text messages I want. She said, well, you can, because it does not matter. And Mel's response, well, if it doesn't matter, then we don't need to have this conversation. Well, you didn't come to have a conversation. You did not come to figure out what the issue was with your friend. You came to do battle. And what it is because she is not surrendering to you, because she's not bowing to you. Oh, well, we can just not have this conversation. You didn't come to have a conversation. So Mel goes on to say, I allowed you to tell a falsehood about me and I didn't correct it. And then I let you run with that narrative. And no, girl, what happened is she called you out for not being a good friend. And what you did was went through all your files and receipts to see if you could find a way to wiggle your way out of any accountability, because we know that that is your kryptonite. That's what happened. Then she said, I'm never the one to try to sway a person from being friends with another person. Lies! Lies! We're literally watching you fall out with Destiny because she was friends with another person that you don't like. You're lying. You're lying. And it's insulting to intelligence for you to sit here and do one thing and say another thing right in people's faces, and they're supposed to just go with whatever you say. You could be over here kicking up chin the teeth and over here saying, but I don't do stuff like that because I'm a missionary at First Missionary Baptist Church and I go every Sunday and I pay all my tithes. Ma'am, we can see you kicking in the teeth with your missionary skirt on. Mel says, well, you knew our relationship. You knew all the stuff that went on between me and Letitia. And Destiny said, no, I didn't know. I knew what you told me. And what you told me was you didn't have a problem with me being friends with her. So Mel says, well, I considered you a friend even at that time. But then I thought to myself, I would never go and say something negative about this girl to somebody that I know she doesn't deal with. That ain't right. What did she say? The thing is, Mel hides behind ambiguity. You can say you were a victim, but not what of. What did she say other than your zodiac sign? Because if I hear the Scorpio one more time, I'm going to lose my okay? What did she say that was negative? Or were they having a conversation about events that transpired in their life because they're on this cast too, and they were at that reunion too? So were they just having a conversation about events that transpired? Or was there something negative actually said about you? Because you have yet to say what was said about you. You just keep using the word negative because it has a negative connotation. Like, don't play with me. And she continues with the ambiguity and the rehearsed reads about there was so much you wanted me to be doing and saying and so much. And so Destiny said, what did I say to you? What did I want you to be saying and do? Oh, aplenty. Girl, if you don't save these church house hooker lies, what is aplenty? You're going to have to give some details. You are not going to be out here just ruining people's reputation, dragging people's business down, taking money out of people's pockets, and all you got is aplenty. And then, so anybody over there allying with my ops is the ops. Girl, shut. Then she goes on to say what her real issue is. She said, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. My issue is I would be on the phone with you and you be saying stuff like, oh, girl, that's your ex beeping in. And, I don't understand why you would be continuing to be friends with somebody who has tried to destroy me on social media and all kinds of things. Girl, you don't get to take people's friends from them. That ain't how this works. People are not property. You don't own them. They don't bow to you. They're not a part of your army. I don't know what delusions you're living in, but that's not how this works. This girl has been friends with Martell for years. You met this girl through Martell. What you're basically telling me is the reason you befriended her is to separate her from Martell because you met her through Martell. So why you would expect that she would absolutely abandon her friendship for somebody who abandons her whenever she gets ready is asinine to me. The fact that you think, well, we're both women and I was cheated on, so you owe me your friendship. That's not how this works. Destiny says to Mel, listen, if you had a problem with my friendship with him, you should have said something. And Mel says, I don't have to verbally say anything. That should be common sense. Here we go. So you don't have to communicate anything. People should just be able to read your mind, read your feelings, and move accordingly. And when they don't, when they fail at reading your mind, when they fail at receiving your telepathic requests, you're going to punish them. That's exactly what this is. And she goes on to say, your ex can't reach out to me about anything. You know why? Because of my loyalty to you? No. You know why? Because you don't have a direct relationship with him. The reason he can reach out to her is he has a direct relationship with her. The only reason you have a relationship with her is because it's a byproduct of the direct relationship he has with her. You don't get to take the friends in the divorce. They're not an asset. And Destiny basically says the same thing, that, listen, we're not in high school anymore. So you can't expect that I'm just going to abandon my friends when their relationships fall apart. That's not how this works. It just don't work like that. And then Mel goes on to say that she's also pissed with Destiny, that Destiny didn't step up to argue with Tisha on her behalf at the reunion. She feels like Destiny should have stepped up to say, well, Mel has been a great friend to me. And Destiny said, but that was between you and Tisha. Like, why is it her responsibility to vouch for you in your issue with this person? And then when you already know this girl has an issue with how you show up for her as a friend, but she's supposed to lay all that down to save you? Girl, no, be a better friend. Then you ain't got to go live and be jumping on the internet talking about, I was a friend. I bet you I was a friend to her when I PayPal'd her that money. What kind of person? That's how you know you were never her friend. No, what it says is this was something you did to have something over her head. You're the kind of person that people cannot come to in their time of need, because on Mad Day, it's going to be a weapon you're going to use against them. It's going to be something you're going to throw in their face about how, yeah, she said I wasn't a friend to her, but I gave her this money. Charities give out money. That don't mean that they're a friend. So from there, they get to arguing back and forth about, you're going to tell me that issue was between me and her, but then you and her can go in a room and have a conversation. How do the two correlate? What does you having an independent issue with Tisha have to do with her being able to have a conversation with Tisha? And if they have the issue in common, that Mel hasn't been a good friend to us, and you overheard them having a conversation that they also had to your face, then what are you talking about? We're making it seem like there is some sort of a discussion going on behind her back that wasn't had in her face, and that's just not the case. And Mel goes on to say, I looked at you like a sister, and Destiny said, oh, really? Because you couldn't have looked at me like a sister and turned this quick. It turns real quick to say you looked at somebody like a sister. And she said, yeah, well, anytime somebody's talking to my frenemy. All right, hold on. Now the story is shifting. The story is shifting right in front of our face. Now she done been an enemy. Every episode, and you've been talking to my enemy. Now she's your frenemy. Now that was real slick, and you almost got biased with that one, but no, ma'am. Come back here. Let me talk to you. So how does she go from your enemy to your frenemy? Let me tell you the difference with a frenemy, and let me tell you why this is an issue. The difference is, with a frenemy, you play friendly in front of other people. With a frenemy, everybody is pretending to get along. But we know that under the current, there's something else there, right? With an enemy, there are no pretenses. I don't play with that. Okay? It's straight like that. Now, you just slipped and said, you were talking to my frenemy. So what you were doing is giving the appearance that there were no issues and that you were above everything and you were so much more mature and you were rising above the issues. And the truth is, you were harboring resentment and you were setting up your pins to knock everybody down who went against whatever you were secretly feeling. And when she went and befriended the person you were pretending to be okay with in front of everybody else, you decided you were going to punish her rather than hold yourself accountable for not being transparent about your feelings and your position. It went to hell from there. Destiny said, Lord have mercy, and they just got to throwing the Lord around. But, well, yes, he's having mercy, and, well, I'm going to pray for you. Don't pray for me, because whatever you praying for me is going to come back to you. And Destiny said, yeah, you're right, but I'm going to pray for you anyway. Don't pray for you. Mel goes stomping out, and as she's stomping into the parking lot with no one but the camera there, she comes off of her next slogan. I got coins to make, not friends to fake. And she gets in the car and drives off. Girl. This whole meeting was nothing more than a funeral service for Destiny and Mel's relationship, because there is no, I do not see them coming back from this, period. And that is where this episode ends. Let me tell you, child, they about sent me up the wall with this whole back and forth they had going on, and all a bunch of going lives and the receipts being posted and all kinds of stuff. Hey, look here. I could barely keep up with all the arguing on the show. Y'all got everything just, ping-ponging like, what? Child. But that's the end of this episode. We see next week, Miss Wanda is going to be running up on Keke. And it's going to be a time, child. We'll be right here, checking to see who got hair left after that meeting. As always, thank you so much for coming down here, listening to me, letting me get it off my chest. We will, as always, get together in the comments. I'm sure many of you have a different opinion. And we'll be free to share that respectfully in the comments. Until next time, love you, meet it. Bye.